Welcome to This Week in Mediaocrity, where we present you with all the best in the worst of the media. I'm your host, Joel Foster, and I heard they have a job opening at Fox News. Relatively speaking, it wasn't too busy of a week. There was the usual threats by North Korea, Syria, and Iraq continued to burn, and it looks like we will probably go to war in Somalia too. But we're all used to this by now. It's crazy how quickly we become desensitized to the possible end of humankind. At this point, I just kind of want them to get it over with. But the big news in media this week was the sacking of Bill O'Reilly. The only thing your racist grandfather likes more than slot machines and complaining about the weather. O'Reilly got canned by Fox News for grabbing cans. O'Reilly was let go after dozens of women came forward alleging that Big Bad Bill sexually harassed them. It's got to be the name. The New York Times reported that Fox had shelled out millions in settlements to the woman over the years and kept it all hush-hush. Of course, Fox News stuck with him for a while because he's by far the most watched cable news show in history. But when over 50 advertisers pulled out of the show, Fox had a sudden rush of empathy. Not for the woman, of course, but for themselves. Is self-empathy a thing? I don't even know. Now keep in mind, Bill O'Reilly wasn't kicked off for saying things like this.
Cocaine dealer. And you kind of look like one a little bit.
No, I would never say that about a man, would I? No, not me.
White people don't force black people to have babies out of wedlock.
I didn't hear a word she said. I was looking at the James Brown wig.
Maria, when you hear me try to talk, that means you have to button it up, with all due respect. Many women who get pregnant are blasted out of their minds when they have sex.
You know, you're snorting out there, and I want you to knock it off.
You basically said to yourself, I'm still going to support the guy, even though his economic policies haven't worked for African Americans and pretty much anyone else.
Why are you only seeing me as an African American, Bill?
Well, do it live! Do it live!
We'll do it live! In fact, he was celebrated for his daily dose of starry-eyed racism. Like I said before, this guy was the highest-rated cable news host in history. Think about that. So why did Fox really fire him? Well, Rush Limbaugh called it a conspiracy by the left wing of the US. Here he is explaining the visions of his Percocet-addled head while he does his best Fonzie pose.
Why did the New York Times do the story? Out of the blue, they want to do a story on O'Reilly or Fox with whatever number of payouts to women over. Where'd this come from? Nothing just comes out of the ether, folks. They're not sitting there at the New York Times waiting for ideas to pop into their heads, and then 1 second some report, you know what? I think I'm going to do a story on what a sexual harasser Bill O'Reilly is. That's not how it happens. This is the reason that it starts in the New York Times is important is because the second aspect is the corporate intrigue that I mentioned that is also behind this. And it's, I don't work there, so I guess it's not any quicksand, but there is a battle for power going on there between sons of Rupert Murdoch and Rupert. And they are not conservatives, my friends.
How could they? Oh yeah, the money. No, I'm pretty sure they're conservative until it messes with their money. Then they're anything you want. Marxist, Hare Krishna. If they would make a buck off of it, they would be starting every show with Allahu Akbar tomorrow. But it wasn't just Rush Limbaugh concocting evil left-wing conspiracies. Bill O'Reilly's own lawyers released a statement Wednesday alleging the same type of plot. Marky Kazowitz said that Bill O'Reilly has been, quote, subjected to a brutal campaign of character assassination that is unprecedented in post-McCarthyist America. This firm has uncovered evidence that the smear campaign is being orchestrated by far-left organizations bent on destroying O'Reilly for political and financial reasons. You might be asking what the evidence is. Well, here's the best part. Quote, that evidence will be put forth shortly, and it is irrefutable. Wait, is Donald Trump his lawyer? You expect the next line to say, Bill O'Reilly is a really great, not gropey at all guy, and Hillary is behind all of this, and the inauguration was the largest crowd ever recorded in history. But Bill O'Reilly wasn't the only right-wing gasbag having a hard time this week. Conservative columnist Ann Coulter made the headlines yet again when her scheduled talk at the University of California at Berkeley was canceled. If you've never heard of Ann Coulter, she's the girl that says she hated that movie you liked so much just to see her reaction. And she says things like this.
Why, as that man just said, why aren't we getting the names of recently paroled criminals? People with gun permits, by definition, do not have criminal records. Why can't we get the criminal records? No, we can't get that. Why can't we get a record of women who have had abortions? They get money from Planned Parenthood. They get money from Medicare, from Medicaid. Much of this is their tax subsidies. I think, mothers might want to know what other women on their street might be willing to murder a child. How about the list of rent-controlled apartments in New York? And by the way, if we're producing lists even of gun permit owners, I want them for Manhattan. I want to know how many rich liberals with their bodyguards have gun permits. The News Journal, or Journal News, by the way, as I'm sure your viewers know, they hired a couple of armed guards because they got, some mean emails. Armed guards. Can we get the armed guards' names and addresses?
At the end, it sounded like her words were actually trying to run away from her, like, I don't want to be any part of this. But on Thursday, Berkeley released a statement that they would be canceling the talk by Coulter due to safety concerns over their students and for Coulter herself. Remember, 2 months ago, the Berkeley campus was where a minor riot erupted when another right-wing antagonizer, Milo Yiannopoulos, appeared for a talk. It's reasonable to assume that the school didn't want a repeat of that incident. Then on Thursday, Berkeley said that they had found a new location with better security and set a new date for May 2nd. But Raggedy Ann wasn't having it. She vomited a bunch of tweets, starting with this odd one, writing that, quote, Berkeley press release, Southern Sheriff rescinds cancellation of black vote. They'll just have to take the absurd literacy test first. All right, let's forget that she misspelled cancellation. But can someone please explain the concept of a metaphor to this lady? How is blocking a multi-millionaire TV guest from speaking the same thing as denying minorities the vote? But Coulter didn't leave us enough time to even think about the question, because less than 3 minutes later, she announced that she's refusing the new date and would remain speaking on the original April 27th date. It turns out that May 2nd lands on finals week at Berkeley, and there wouldn't be any classes on that day, which Coulter told us in her 5th tweet in under 10 minutes. Radio host Mark Levin had some strong words about the decision and a pretty drastic and really expensive solution. Let's hear him.
This broke an hour ago, a headline, Washington Compost, Berkeley cancels conservative firebrand Ann Coulter speech over fears of more violent protests. William Wan, after riots and violent protests in and around their campus during the past 3 months, officials at the University of California at Berkeley said today that the school is canceling a planned speech by conservative firebrand Ann Coulter because of safety concerns. In a letter to a campus Republican group that invited Coulter to speak, university officials said they made the decision to cancel Coulter's appearance after assessing the violence that flared on campus in February and so forth and so on. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you what needs to be done about this. President Trump should federalize the California National Guard. He should send his Attorney General Jeff Sessions in there to walk Ann Coulter onto the Berkeley campus so she can give her speech. I'm not even a fan of Ann Coulter these days. But so what? Has nothing to do with that.
Ann Coulter is so 2005. I'm not even into her. I'm into Tucker these days. Really? Is that the one thing we want our president to bravely stand up for and spend our tax money doing it? Couldn't he just send a stern letter instead? It's not Brown versus the Board of Education. It's a dumb TV personality whose crowd would be made up mostly of people who hate her and want to yell things at her. And it's not as though liberals are cheering the school's decision. Robert Reich, a professor at UC Berkeley and a former Secretary of Labor for Bill Clinton, says that the school made a mistake. He says that they should have let her speak. And the crazy thing is I think he's right. For as much as I can't stand Ann Coulter, I hate even more to see her empowered by this stuff. Bill O'Reilly, Ann Coulter, and Donald Trump all thrive off of opposition. The worst thing we can do is fight against them. It's like throwing gasoline into a fire to try and put it out. When we stand back and let them do their thing, they end up destroying themselves anyway. Look at how many chances Bill O'Reilly had, and he still blew it. We let Donald Trump become our president, and look what happened. At least after he's done being president, which will probably be in a couple months, we'll probably never hear from Trump again, hopefully because he's in jail. But imagine if he didn't win. We'd be subjected to him forever. And with our luck, he'd end up being like an immortal vampire, so the tweets would go on for infinity. It's important to hear opposing points of view, partly just because it's good to get out of your bubble, but also because you learn how to debate these people. If you don't know what they're saying, it's really hard to put up a decent argument. So I guess in this case, I'll have to side with Ann Coulter, as crazy as that sounds. I hope she comes down to Berkeley on April 27th, and I hope she gets booed and yelled at and subjected to all the free speech that she says she supports. All right, that's all the time I have for today. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy your free speech, and remember, much like food poisoning, it comes out both ways. Michigan legalized switchblades, by the way. See you later.